us today is Monrad Aas. Monrad, you've come from the other side of the world.
Yes, that's completely correctly.
Yeah.
I come from almost with mathematical precision from the other side of the world, which is the country Norway.
Norway, right.
Yes.
Well, welcome to New Zealand.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
How long have you been here?
I came on Tuesday.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
And I hope you're staying for a little bit. You're not going to head back straight away?
Yeah, no, my wife and I will try to see something on New Zealand, yes.
Great.
So because we have heard that it's very nice.
Good.
So we're looking forward to this.
I hope it turns up the weather and shows off to you a bit.
Yeah.
Now, your talk today, you came in and talked about telemedicine, but also the organisational consequences. Tell me a bit more about that.
Oh, that has been an interesting research activity for me, because I also have a background to teaching management and organisation at the Nordic School of Public Health.
Right, okay.
So I started, during that period, I started to discover telemedicine, because it was from quite early on in Norway. And then I started to mistake that there were some consequences for organization there, and I was teaching organization and management. And then I started to think that maybe I should take a closer look at it. And that I did, and started designing a project about it.
Right, okay.
So, and then I started simply up first by writing about telemedicine. Then I had the background from before on organization and management, so this combination was good. And then I started the collection of data by qualitative interviews. So I tried to do a professional job based on the methodology for professional interviews. Then I started to get data. And I was quite surprised to see the amount of data I got. It was extremely rich in results, this research. So I found that for the first data set I collected, I had 960 pieces of information. Each such piece of information was simply about organization. Right. And each such piece of information had a content about organization different from the 959 other pieces of information. So I knew that now I've really got much to do. So then I started the work, of course, and started publishing. So then when it came to an end, I think I had quite close to 50 publications.
Right.
And also collected all other data sets, which are about organization and telemedicine.
Right. So these are papers published in Norway, is it? All the way over?
No, it's much international.
International papers.
I think I have 13 publications in Journal of Telemedicine and Telecare. There are also many other international publications.
And you've been involved. You've been watching telemedicine since it began.
Yeah, from very early on. Yes.
And you've been going to the conferences and watching.
Yeah.
And what were some of the things you found when you were going to those conferences?
It was, of course, many things, and I have watched it, of course, with great interest. But when it comes to the issue I was studying, that was very relevant to do, simply because what I saw is that people came to conferences and presented their projects. They presented their projects about the applications of telemedicine, and it was very many of them, very many. Yeah. And but next year they were not coming back, and I heard nothing about the telemedicine activity they had been talking about. Yeah. So it was simply not a diffusion of that activity into a situation where it has become a routine activity of a high volume. And I think many had exactly that in their head, that what I'm doing now is really going to see a diffusion and become something great. But then the opposite happened to a high degree. So that was quite interesting for me to see, because I was then working with solutions to that. So yes.
Okay. So you sort of saw lots of case-based kind of presentations at those conferences,
yes.
But not really any continuity when you went back those following years. They disappeared essentially.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
There was much of that, yes.
Okay. And how are you finding things now?
There is a development, but still the development could have been better and more encompassing. So because these problems are not really solved. And with that I simply mean that people have not really learned that the telemedicine virtual organizations is necessary to work with the organization. So, and not just tell people about the projects they have and then disappear from history of telemedicine.
So turn up and go away, don't they?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about your research. You identified problems.
Yes.
Yeah. And what were some of the problems you identified? I remember you talked about collaboration and in your talk. Yeah.
One of the things I obviously saw very obviously that was that there was a collaboration problem, and we of course all know that. Let's say in hospitals there can be collaboration problems. That's when it's just about ordinary organization and ordinary work in hospitals. There can be collaboration problems. But telemedicine is often also about collaboration between organizations. But when it comes to collaboration between ordinary organizations, we know from research that there can be collaboration problems with ordinary organizations try to work together. But then telemedicine is of course in much about collaboration between organizations. So what then? And that you're really sitting with a problem, and that I was trying to analyze. I tried to collect data about it, and what I came to was that this problem is solved. It's possible to find a solution to.
Yeah.
It is definitely not sitting so that telemedicine, oh no, this is impossible. There is no collaboration to this. There's no solution to the problem to this. So then you have a situation with collaborate measures to make collaboration possible. And such collaboration measures I managed to identify. I identified them first for teleradiology, then for remote consultations. And then I found something which was very surprising. These two, teleradiology and remote consultations, are two very different applications of telemedicine, extremely different. But then I found out that there were similarities in collaboration measures.
That's right, yeah.
So that was very surprising. And when I went through these collaboration measures, there was a quite significant similarity actually. I presented in my talk some of these similarities, but the list of similarities is more encompassing. So it's not just to say that we have a problem for telemedicine when it comes to collaboration. We also have a similarity in collaboration measures, which is quite encompassing actually.
Do you remember some of the examples of solutions of your collaboration?
Yeah. So for example, someone should lead the change, someone should be responsible for the change to telemedicine, and responsibilities should be distributed among the involved. So all involved should have defined what their task is.
Okay.
So this should be really made systematically, so it's very clear. And with that, problems can, some of the problems can disappear. And then another thing was that if there are problems between when it comes to collaboration between individuals, and these problems should really be taken up and put on the table, and they should be solved before this telemedicine really start to practice it. So, but there are many such problems, and there's a long list of them. I have published this much about it, but also about how to solve them, each of them.
It sounds like in a larger prospect, it's leadership and communication is the two big things.
Yes,
and that seems to be a general theme at this conference that I've been seeing so far. So you're very much on the board with that.
Yes,
cool.
fine.
Monrad, thank you so much for coming and having a chat with us. It's been lovely talking to you.